my show had value, whether it was the Black Lives Matter issues. We need to understand 1619 as the real founding of this country, whether it's talking about Gaza and the fact that we as the American people have a right to object, to little babies being bombed. Those things are of God. And you know, I'm a church girl too, and those are the things that I was taught were of God. And so I'm not sorry. I'm just proud of my show.
Well, there's no show to be proud of anymore. The Readout, Joy Reid's show on MSNBC, has officially gotten the old hook. And so joining me now to, celebrate, just discuss the whole media landscape is my friend Curtis Houck, managing editor of Newsbusters, and Brianna Lyman with the Federalist, wonderful correspondent for the Federalist. Okay, Curtis, everyone's out there screaming that Joy Reid got fired because she's dumb, or Joy Reid got fired because she's a communist. And of course, she's all those things and many other things. But everyone on MSNBC is a dumb communist. That doesn't get you fired. So why'd she get fired?
Yeah, well, she lost half of her ratings since the election. I mean, that's really impressive. And I should remind folks that she didn't even just get this job solely based on merit. She was given this job as a DEI hire because Chris Matthews made some woman feel uncomfortable a few years ago. So they Me Too'd him off the stage. And instead of give it to someone who actually knows politics, even if he is a lefty, they gave it to somebody like this. The biggest racial arsonist on the planet, an evil woman. One of the people, I would say, Jesse, actually believes the things that she is saying. A lot of these folks, or at least a few of them, I can tell you personally, probably don't believe a lot of the things they're saying, or at least, don't genuinely think we're the enemy, whereas she actually does. So to see her booted, I think is a good thing for America.
Brianna, I can't help but notice that things are rough in the corporate media world now anyway. We have all these anchors that are leaving, Lester Holt's leaving. You're talking about NBC in the tank for $30 million because of something some dumb host said. What happened?
Yeah, this was a crazy story. Back in 2020, if we remember, there was that ICE detention facility in Georgia, and there was a doctor, and I can't pronounce his name, but Dr. Amin, who performed just two hysterectomies. And there was a whistleblower complaint that NBC Universal just ate up. They took that as fact. And they reported that this doctor was a collector of uteruses. They were trying to smear and malign and demean him. And he sued them for slander by saying, look, ICE approved these 2 hysterectomies. These women signed consent forms to say I will get a hysterectomy. But that didn't matter to NBC Universal. And in fact, during discovery process, it was found that even the executives at NBC Universal said, I don't know if this story is actually pretty accurate. It seems like there's a lot of big holes in it, and they still published it anyway. So they finally settled this case. Dr. Amin was looking for $30 million. It's not clear if that's what he got in the settlement yet, but that's what he was seeking. So he definitely got a few bucks out of NBC Universal, and it is an indictment that the propaganda press is losing the power it once had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they sure are. Curtis, what do you make of the turnover? Because like I said, it's not just Joy Reid. Yeah. It's a bunch of them. Is this just all about money? Are these places, are they all losing their ratings and they're trying to find the younger, cheaper option, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it is cost. Hoda Kotb did not leave the Today Show, Jesse, out of the goodness of her heart because she said she had to give more of her time pie to her children. No, it's because they've realized that $20 million a year for these people is not going to fly. For some reason, ABC's dumb enough to think David Muir, who is the English comprehension of an elementary school student, is still worth giving money to. Monday afternoon, MSNBC reportedly also got rid of Katie Fang, Ayman Mohyeldin, the Hamas apologist. Maybe he can go back to Al Jazeera or something. And Jonathan Capehart, the gay Washington Post guy. So he still has PBS going for him until we defund that as well. So it definitely is about turnover, except with very few asterisks like David Muir and Rachel Maddow, as you just saw there. She's still getting her $20 million to host one day a week.
Jeez, one day a week. So last week, I think it was last week, we got this clip of Margaret Brennan, CBS, that is, it's astounding, but at the same time, it's how these people view the world. Here it was.
Well, he was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups. The context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that.
Brianna, the communists in this country are so broken that they've now convinced themselves that the Holocaust happened because of free speech?
Yes, the Holocaust happened because of free speech in a country at a time when the Nazis actually did not allow free speech, but somehow it was free speech. And this is not just a slip of the tongue. It wasn't an accidental insulting comment or assertion that she made. This was deliberate, right? Because Margaret Brennan, like the rest of these members of the propaganda press, see themselves as propagandists. And one way that they work for the totalitarian regime, such as under the Biden-Harris administration, is they want to convince Americans to cede their right to having free speech. Democrats would do far less, well in elections if censorship was permissible, right? Murthy or Biden, the Murthy case of the Supreme Court, Murthy v. Missouri, the Biden administration tried, hand over fist to try and squash free speech and censorship and make it permissible in this country to censor Americans because of true but inconvenient free speech. And so when you have mouthpieces like Margaret Brennan getting on, national media and trying to say that, yeah, free speech is kind of dangerous, it is an attempt to sway the general public to questioning whether they deserve the right to free speech.
Speaking of which, Ilhan Omar had a little exchange with some Mehdi Hassan, some idiot on TV, and here's what she said.
These people are just idiots. I really, I'm at the point where it's become really hard to have an intellectual debate with any of these people because the level of stupidity that they are displaying every single day is frankly embarrassing, not just in Congress, but as Americans. And the fact that these people are allowed to say just the most ridiculous things tells you that the dumbing of the United States has arrived, because how else do we get a Trump presidency again?
There's a lot you can take from that segment, but honestly, the part that always stood out to me, Curtis, is the allowed. The fact that they're allowed to say these things. They can't help themselves, can they? There's just a tyrant. If you just scratch the surface a little bit, one, it will smell, and two, there's a tyrant under there.
Yeah, and she's also proof that you can just say a whole lot of things without actually really having said anything to begin with. I think this goes to, between this and the previous clip with Brianna there, is the left doesn't want to have a genuine battle of ideas. We see this with elections in Europe. They want to outlaw certain parties. They want to outlaw certain forms of media. In Canada, they want to double the funding for the CBC or something out of national security. They don't want to win a debate on merits. They don't want to win hearts and minds because they'd much rather do it by rigging the system, by silencing dissent, and then forcing their views upon we the people, instead of genuinely convincing them that their way is the best way. They don't want to have an actual discussion about, which way do we want to go as a country? Which way do we want to go as a society? Because that's just too much work for them.
Finally, we have to talk about my new favorite Democrat. I just adore her so much. Jasmine Crockett. Every time you turn on the television, her fat, stupid face is on there saying something dumb. Here she is.
Been the one to call it out. The fact that I'm rooting for Canada and I'm rooting for Mexico a lot is really wild. But they are really the ones that are speaking truth to power right now. They can see what it is, and they were like, we are not messing with this crazy regime from Mar-a-Lago, and basically calling them thugs. That's what it is. But I'm like, y'all knew who he was when y'all elected him. So don't act surprised.
Brianna, I am a little surprised that a party that is as controlled as the Democrat Party is letting her run wild and make the GOP midterm ads for them every single day. What is going on here?
Yeah, Sam Adams once said that the colonists know what is designed against them. And he was talking about they understand that the British government was designed to suppress their liberties and trample on their rights. People understand that Democrats are designed against the American people right now. This isn't the Democratic Party of, 60 years ago. This is the Democratic Party of 2024 that doesn't want Americans to have rights, that actively cheers on countries that are sending rapists, murderers, drugs that are killing hundreds of thousands of Americans, and they're supporting them. She said something stupid last week as well. She said, we're not in the business of giving money away. right? Because she didn't want to give taxpayer Doge refunds. It's not giving money away. It's giving money back to taxpayers because of radical pet projects by people like you in the Democratic Party who are stealing them. So if they want to keep trotting her out there, that's great. Like you said, it's good for the midterms for Republicans. But this is the ethos of the Democratic Party right now.
Both of you, appreciate you. Come back soon. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.